I am so pleased that you are able to join us this morning to listen to Ambassador José Alfredo Graça Lima, Undersecretary of State at Brazil's Ministry of External Relations. Ambassador Graça Lima will address a very hot and timely topic, China's economic deceleration and its impact on Brazil's economy. We couldn't have a more respected and knowledgeable insider on Brazil-Asia diplomatic and business matters to speak on this topic. Ambassador Graça Lima played a central role in the negotiation of the agreement of over $50 billion in Brazil's infrastructure investments between the Chinese Premier and Brazilian President last May in Brasília. Seja bem-vindo, embaixador. Há quanto tempo? Thank you so much. Muito obrigada por participar deste programa. E todos nós estamos ansiosos para ouvir a sua apresentação, os seus comentários sobre esse tópico muito importante. Nesse momento, vou deixar a palavra para o senhor. Ambassador Graça Lima, welcome. The floor is all yours.
Muito obrigado, Sueli. It's a real pleasure to speak with you again and being offered the opportunity to speak about what you have termed the China factor and its impact on Brazil's economy. It's a privilege to be able to address this audience that you have gathered, and I'll do my best to focus on what seems to be a matter of importance not only to the global markets, but also and in particular to Latin America and the Brazilian economy in particular. So I would start by referring to what even the Chinese state media called Black Monday. That was 24th of August last, when China's stock market endured its biggest one-day fall since 2007. At that moment, commodity prices fell into territory not seen since 1999, which led some analysts to feel that the world's second largest economy would be heading to a very deep trouble, emerging markets being vulnerable to what would seem, what would appear to be a full-blown crisis. These, of course, these first analysis and evaluations were, of course, largely exaggerated. It is true that according to statistics, around $5 trillion have been wiped off global equity markets since the devaluation of the yuan, of the order of 3%, something like that. That a string of economic numbers of bad quality had fueled fears that the economy of China was heading for a hard landing, and also that exports had been falling, and that the stock market had lost more than 40% since peaking in June. When all those factors would lead to conclude that a huge crisis, as I was saying, had been started. But soon enough, or even a few days after the Black Monday events, and The Economist, among the other media, were quick to point out that the doomsters had gone too far, and that in the sense that the property market is far more important to China, to China's economy than the equity market is. That China's future lies with its shoppers, not with its exporters, and services, incomes, and consumption are resilient. And finally, last but not least, the central bank of China has plenty of room to loosen policy. And even if the economy is slowing, it is said that it will be even below 6% next year. That would add more to world output than the 14% expansion that China posted in 2007. So these are all elements that have to be taken into consideration when you look at the recent past and you try to understand and project the future. Understanding is not easy. There are always more questions than answers. But the fact is that China is not in crisis. I think there is a consensus about that by now. Its ability to evolve smoothly from a command to a market economy, that is actually in question. There are plans for reform that may eventually fall victim to the government's fear of giving markets free rein. The Chinese authorities wish to make state-owned firms more efficient, but at the same time, they may not be fully prepared to expose them to competition. They also would like to give the yuan, the currency of the people, more freedom, but they fear at one point that a weakening currency might spur capital flight, as is already happening, as a matter of fact. And finally, these authorities believe that local government should be, of course, more disciplined. This is part of the plan, but they are also inclined to funnel credit to these local governments, motivated by the need for, this level of growth, this new normal that they believe should be now pursued as a name of economic growth. So that leads us to the following question: how does this all impact on Latin America and on Brazilian economy in particular? What we observe now here, and I'll be very brief about this point because I have no mandate or authority to speak about internal policy, but I would say that Brazil is devoted to making the necessary efforts to restore fiscal balance and also to comply with other obligations that would also give the necessary important signs to investors worldwide that the Brazilian economy has a future as soon as these problems can be overcome. That we have a plan to of course with cuts in spending and some measure of tax raising should be, of course, on its way. All measures that can go in the direction that is being pursued, which is again recovering of economic growth with fiscal balance and control of inflation, certain stabilization, of course, of the currency, which has peaked. As a matter of fact, this has been one of the reasons. I'll go into that later, but the fact that the Brazilian currency had already been devalued and it lost like 50, almost 40% of its value from end of 2014 to August 2015. This has smoothed the impact of the yuan devaluation to a certain extent, and it has reflected in the trade numbers, in our balance of trade with China, which has still been favorable to the Brazilian side. So if you look at trade from January to August 2015, trade flows between China and Brazil, they had already fallen by 15% compared to the same period in 2014. Brazilian exports showed a decline of 20% in value terms, and imports shrink by 9%. At the end of last month, the balance of trade was favorable to Brazil, even though such trade surplus of the order of $3.1 billion fell by 56% compared to the period January-August 2014. It would appear then that the deceleration of our bilateral trade has been taking place since last year as a result of a decline both in commodity prices and in Chinese consumption, particularly of iron ore. In the case of Brazil, the real, as I indicated before, the real having fallen by more than a third against the dollar in the past year and by almost half since May 2013, it is not unlikely that trade will be further affected by recent developments. On the other hand, ongoing adjustments in the Chinese economy will, if successful, pave the way for the implementation of infrastructure projects designed both to meet the needs of the Brazilian economy and to allow Chinese construction companies to build roads and ports so as to facilitate and cut costs of transportation and logistics in general. Before I go into that, before I go into this new perspective that we have in the China-Brazil relations, I would mention that the trade flows between Brazil and China reached a total of $47.9 billion between January and August 2015. Interesting enough, as I had the opportunity to mention, exports went down. Exports of a number of sectors in volume, in value terms, not in volume terms. For instance, the so-called soy complex, or the soybeans in particular. Soybeans showed an increase in volume of the order of 14%, and in this regard, or in this manner, it really compensated the decline in prices. Iron ore results in iron ore were less successful, but if you look at poultry and some copper products, some steel products, there was a remarkable growth of the order of 23%, 37% in dollars, and even higher in volume terms. So again, what I see here to conclude about these observations, and to conclude these observations on trade specifically, what I see here is a trend that may be only very slightly be aggravated by the deceleration of the Chinese economy. This is because the Chinese demand for our food products will not be diminished, and if we increase our capacity to export, as again in volume terms, it will be quite it will be compensated. Of course, we need much more trade to compensate for internal losses in terms of dependence on credit and domestic demand to grow. But in any case, if we look at, as I said before, if we look at the numbers of trade surpluses that we have always maintained with China, in the particular case of China, the losses should not be exaggerated. But and now turning to the question on investment, I should make a correction when Sueli spoke about an agreement having been signed between Brazil and China regarding $50 billion worth of investments in infrastructure and sustainable development. Those are numbers that refer to projects that are being still looked at. The most conspicuous of them is, of course, the railroad that would allow our production of, especially of grains, to take the Pacific way instead of the Atlantic way to reach not only China but also other ports, other destinations in Asia. But what we're looking at now is, and this is business as usual, I must say very frankly, what we're looking at now, Brazil and China, is how we can benefit from this complementarity. The fact that Brazil is in need to better its infrastructure and the availability that China has, on the other hand, to supply these services, and even more interesting, to finance these services in case they win the bids for the construction of roads, railroads, ports, airports, whatever. So we are also very enthusiastic, I should say, about the plans which seem very promising to increase capacity of production in sectors such as energy, also mining, traditional sectors, but also new sectors that might be and financed by, as I said, by highly capitalized investment banks that would be therefore enough to. And speaking of Chinese banks and those new multilateral banks, even the BRICS development bank, which was recently created by the BRICS, to make a long story short, what I see is challenges in the near future, challenges in the short term, even in the medium term. We know that 2015 will be a year of sacrifice for emerging economies. Brazil is trying to do its homework, so that already in 2016 we can see a future that will look more promising. Stabilization, more balance, more equilibrium, the taking care of the fundamentals of the economy, and these prospects of increasing investments in infrastructure and in increase also in productive capacity, so that we can be more integrated, not only with most important trading partners today, but with the global, so-called global productive change. Will be more prepared to engage, and China will, of course, continue to be, as we hope, an important partner, both in terms of trade and more clearly now in terms of direct investments in Brazil. Thank you very much.
Ambassador Graça Lima, thank you so much for such an informative and interesting presentation. I really appreciate your time and for these outstanding comments. And we have a couple of questions from the audience, Ambassador. If you could share with your thoughts on them. Let me start with one comment that I have read recently in the media here in the United States, in regarding to the China economic deceleration, that necessarily is not a bad thing, Ambassador Graça Lima. That this is a reflection of the structural and conjunctural aspects in the Chinese economy. What's your thinking, take on that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Shirley?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, more a comment on some comments from expert on Chinese economy. That what is happening with the China's economic deceleration, that is not a bad thing for the Chinese economy in the long run. That is a reflection of some change in the structural model in China.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I'm not really an expert on China. It's so difficult to understand all that is going on, and the fact that China has grown so much along the last 10 years creates expectations that would not be fulfilled. Not if China wants to really engage in this path of stability and reform. I understand that the objective surrounding the new normal concept is very is sustainable, is understandable. It gives us the clear impression, at least to my mind, that China is doing the right thing. There are, of course, dilemmas to be faced, but I'm pretty sure that the Chinese authorities they have been giving the world this impression that they are competent enough to proceed to this transition that is so much needed by a country that has 1,600,000,000 people, consumers, and that are slowly increasing, of course, their needs, and this has to be tended to. I think that the Chinese plans to develop, with the help and with integrating more with the world, are very important for economies, emerging economies, but also to the world at large. We must never forget that the United States are also the Chinese most important partners.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. One question from the audience has to do with Brazil and China trade. Ambassador, the question is, what sectors of Brazil's knowledge economy could help replace the country's reliance on commodity exports, which have fallen due to China's slowdown?
I don't think we were thinking of, the challenge of diversifying and adding value. It still persists. Regardless of how the impact of deceleration of China will be on Brazilian economy, we'll still be pursuing these objectives, diversification, and also with the Chinese help. If they think of helping us improve our productive capacity, this is regarding a number of sectors that are not necessarily the agribusiness. We already have very few sectors like civil aviation with Embraer exporting, and also manufacturing aircraft in China. We have some other, possibilities, perhaps in the automobile industry, firm to firm kind of integration and even more trade. This is being done already. But as I was saying, trade will follow its normal, or it's up to the markets themselves to find ways to increase the changes. But I'm more I would bet more on this new phase of investments in order to achieve expressive results or significant results in the future.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. We were very, very fortunate to have you, Ambassador, launching the webinar seminars organized by the Brazil-Florida Business Council. Usually at programs, we introduce the speakers and give a short summary. And I'm going to do at the end of the program, because I'm sure that those who listen to your interesting and comprehensive presentation realize that you are definitely as I mentioned, the most knowledgeable, one of the most knowledgeable insiders on China, Brazil related matters. So I'm going to share with all of you a short summary on Ambassador's outstanding diplomatic career. He's a Carioca. He was born in Rio de Janeiro, graduating law from the Catholic University in Rio, joined the diplomatic service in 1969, and served in the permanent delegation of Brazil in Geneva and in the embassies in Washington and in Paramaribo. He also served as Deputy Permanent Representative to the GATT and the Secretary for Integration, Economic Affairs and Foreign Trade, Permanent Representative of Brazil to the European Communities, Consul General in New York. That's where I had the privilege to meet Ambassador and work together when I was the Executive Director for the Brazilian American Chamber of Commerce. He was also the Consul General for Brazil in Los Angeles, and returned to Brasilia to be nominated Inspector General of the Foreign Service. Since December of 2013, Ambassador Graça Lima has been the Undersecretary General for Political Affairs in charge of Brazilian bilateral relations with Asia and Oceania countries, as well as of the Brazilian participation in the interregional mechanisms of several organizations. So needless to say that Ambassador's background couldn't be more timely for this topic. So Ambassador Graça Lima, again, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for accepting my invitation to be the first speaker of our webinar seminars.